Okay, well since we're starting a new chapter, let's first of all look at the warrior record, because now this is unlocked, finally! Hello. Your hair kind of goes white when I click on you. 30% blossoms. Alright, now we can check our blossoms with you, that's good. Well, back to skipping. Until the next time you show your face. Alright, chapter 3. So this is, oh yes, Ito's here, and Miki, my dear darling Miki, who had quite a big role last time, which was nice to see. Yeah, so you guys are here. We're gonna be going to see the shogunate. Yes. Well, the new shogunate at the castle. And then the 3 demon boys are gonna attack. And then I think we also find out about Soji's illness in this route. I mean, not this route, this chapter. Unfortunately, we always find out about Soji's illness in one way or another. Although Sanan hasn't become a fury yet. Oh, that's what this is. Alright, am I investigating or returning to my room, Sarah? I am returning to my room. Okay. So we won't see the transformation happen. What are we gonna do? Okay, looks like we're hanging out with Toshi again. We can do that. Toshi's our go-to guy when we're on the other routes, it seems. He's a tough guy to get to fall in love with you, so it makes sense. Everyone else is more than willing to, but you gotta really work on Toshi. Alright. So once we have our chat with you, we'll say, let's have faith. Alright. So now Sanon's a fury. Which means we're gonna see him in the daylight and remember, have a vision of him with white hair, even though that doesn't make any sense. Although, who knows, maybe he really did just let his furiness come out in 1 second, without realizing it. It's a possibility. Furies can look more fury-like during the day, after all. I'm wondering, can Sakamoto fight? He is a Ronin. I didn't actually pay attention to see if he had any swords on him. Or a gun. It's possible he has a gun. Wasn't anything obvious, though. Oh yeah! Sister brother. It's been a while. I completely forgot about sister brother. Yeah, I'm wondering if he's gonna show up when the demons show up, and if he's gonna fight them at all. Maybe not. Although, if he's working with the shogunate, he might be at the castle. It's not completely out of the question. Why? I've done this before. Why is my blue gone? What am I doing? Oh no, it's... Wait. Is this the first time I've been able to actually choose to stay behind? I don't think I've actually had this choice before. I think usually it's a given that I always go. Hold on, let me just... Yeah. Huh. Okay. I get the choice to stay behind. I knew that if I joined the fighting without being a skilled swordsman, I'd get in someone's way. I appreciate your offer, but I think I'll stay behind this time. I see. Then I'll leave the rest up to you. With that, while everyone went to go protect Nijo Castle, I stayed behind at the compounds. Well, this is nice. I don't have to see them after all. A few days had passed. It was after the Shinsengumi men had safely returned from guarding Nijo Castle. And no demons were in sight. Excuse me. Hijikata had called for me, so I headed to the common room where the captains awaited me.
Hey there, sorry for calling you here at this hour. Please, sit down.
Oh, no problem. Seeing everyone gathered, however, made me wonder if our conversation was a serious one. Did the demon show up and tell them what they would have told me normally? I sat down nervously where Kondo beckoned me.
Let's get straight to the chase. This is about the Tosa warrior you said you knew. Ryouma Sakamoto.
Oh, Sakamoto? What about him?
This man is an alleged survivor of the Tosa Imperialist Party. He's supposedly involved with imperial nationalist movements in various places.
What? But I heard that he was at the Shogunate's navy, learning to steer a black ship. Wouldn't that make him an ally of the Shogunate?
Perhaps. You could be right. I don't know how, but supposedly he was successful in infiltrating the navy. However, that navy training location no longer exists, so technically Sakamoto has no backing by the Shogunate and is just a Ronin. So despite that, he's still roaming through Kyoto and Osaka. That smells fishy. So we're thinking of investigating Sakamoto, but...
Hijikata then gestured towards Yamazaki.
Sakamoto is a very cautious man. Shimada and I attempted to tail him a few times, but each time he was able to lose us. We are certain that he is using the Shirada Inn as his base at the moment, but he refuses to leave his room whenever we go there.
I listened to the captains nervously. So you want to use me to draw him out? The flow of this conversation led me to think...
Will you lure Sakamoto into the open for us?
What? I can't do that! I mean, even last time I learned that I have no talent as a spy. Also, above everything, the few times I spoke to Sakamoto never led me to believe he is an enemy.
It's not what you think. We just want to bring him in for questioning. No one intends on doing him any harm. Supposedly, the Tosa domain is trying to arrest and execute the Loyalists, so we thought it'd be best for us to come to his aid. I mean, if he's able to train under the Shogunate despite being a Tosa, he should be in the clear.
Oh, well, when you put it like that... So from what it sounded like, they wanted to become allies with Sakamoto, and in turn receive information regarding the Tosa from him. I understand. In that case, I'll try sending a letter to the inn where Sakamoto is staying. However, since I've only met Sakamoto a few times, I can't guarantee that he'd accept my letter.
That's fine. Can you get to it immediately?
Okay, please excuse me then. I bowed and left the common room. I'm writing my first love letter. Upon returning to my room, I immediately started to write a letter to Sakamoto, but what could I tell him that didn't sound suspicious? All I could write convincingly was, I would like to speak with you about something immediately. I didn't know if Sakamoto would read it anyway, though. The next day, I asked Yamazaki to deliver the letter for me. Welp. After a few days... Ow! I was in my room stitching, and I accidentally stabbed myself with a needle. It didn't cut too deeply, and it was fine to let it settle since it stopped bleeding eventually. I placed my stitching on the floor and sighed deeply. Why is there no boy here to lick the blood off my finger? I'd received no response from Sakamoto yet. Maybe he's busy. I did send that letter out of the blue. Maybe he's not sure what to do or what it's about. Even though it was to help the Shinsengumi, I started regretting having done something so rash. Then a surprise visitor interrupted my thoughts.
Yukimura, do you have a moment?
For some reason, Inoue seemed to be a little panicked from behind the sliding door. Sure, what is it?
Come with me this instant. We have a situation.
A situation? What happened?
Supposedly, a man named Sakamoto charged into the compounds demanding to see you.
What? Oh no, has he come to rescue you? I rush Within away to the common room. Y'all. He wasn't fooled for a second.
How dare y'all, using a woman to extort some information from me? Is that how Shinsengumi runs things?
That voice, it really is. Sakamoto! As I called out to him, he turned around with the goofiest smile on his face. There it is.
Oh, hey Chizuru. I got your letter and I couldn't contain myself, so I came running here. I'd be a little happier if it wasn't for these men, but I guess it was asking too much.
But why did you come here?
You heard, ya? It was so obvious that they were using you to get information from me, so I figured why not just cut out the middleman.
My mouth was slack-jawed, knowing he took a bold step to charge in, despite seeing through the Shinsengumi's intentions. Sakamoto then turned around again to face Hijikata and the other warriors.
Looks like I don't need to introduce myself at this point, but... I'm a Tosa Ronin, Ryouma Sakamoto. However, there's no good reason for the Shinsengumi to be investigating me. Yes, I may be acquainted with the Tosa Loyalist Party, but that's all. I don't want to say it, but it's not like anything they do is much to hoot about.
What makes you think we can take you for your word?
Well, believe it or not, that's the truth. Or why don't you ask Count Katsu yourself, then?
A shogunate retainer, also known as Awanokami Katsu. He is in charge of the warship magistrate, and he is credited with establishing the Navy training location in Kobe.
Did you say Katsu?
Hijikata's brows furrowed as soon as he heard the name.
Wasn't Katsu an official in the shogunate? Then that means...
It was clear now that Sakamoto was connected to the shogunate, diffusing the tension between him and the Shinsengumi. Hijikata, however...
But you were familiar with the Tosa Ronin that night at the Ikeda Inn, correct? How do you claim to have no relations with loyalist extremists?
Sakamoto slumped to Hijikata's question.
I... stopped them. But they gave me no chance to talk it out. They all decided to jump the gun, and they died. If you consider Japan at its current state, could they really expel foreigners? It's a no-brainer.
I just noticed he does have swords, and I just didn't notice the first time around.
What are you going on about? If we're talking about expelling foreigners, both the Imperial Court and the Shogunate are in agreement. Whoa, sounds like you were misinformed. I mean, who's the one that opened all of our ports to foreigners? That's right, the Shogunate. Yeah, he spouts off loyalist sentiment to his people, but can he really deliver? Seems obvious. Well, that's just temporary. Since we have no naval force capable of stopping the Black Ships, for now he has to gain power. So, when you speak of power, whose power are you speaking of? Japan's? Or are you saying the Takagawa clan? Both, obviously. The Takagawa clan has the supreme authority to govern Japan.
Sakamoto sighed in response to Hijikata.
Despite offering no help and letting the Choshu domain succumb to the Western Fleet.
The group of four nations, Great Britain, France, Netherlands, and the United States, opposing the Choshu effort to expel all foreign influences in Japan on behalf of Emperor Komei.
Well, that's only because the Choshu attacked a black ship with cannons and had no strategy. True, but expelling the foreigners was a direct order from the shogunate, even if it was for show. And besides, more than anything, no matter how much they may fight it, the Choshu domain is still comprised of our fellow countrymen.
Hijikata's bitter expression gave the impression that Sakamoto bested him as the latter smirked.
Hijikata, was it? You clearly know what you're talking about. But my, aren't you quite stubborn? For the future, let's say we're to engage in conflict with the foreigners. You'd still need a naval fleet, and even more money for war. Now is not the time for the squabbles and trivialities between the Japanese people. No one here is hot shit for killing a few dozen Ronin. Rather than that, we need to gather resources and make Japan a strong country. What did you say?
Hijikata's eyes grew wide, believing Sakamoto's suggestions to be a direct affront to the duties and methods of the Shinsengumi.
Now wait a minute, you two. Just hold on.
Kondo tried to assert his authority over Hijikata.
Kondo, were you not listening to what this bastard said? I did hear, but it's the Aizu's command that no harm shall come to this man. None of that matters. This bastard is involved with the battle at the Ikeda Inn. And not only that, he just stood up for the Choshu. I bet you anything he's connected to them secretly. It's not only the Aizu. Yamauchi of the Tosa domain and Katsu, whose retainer guaranteed his safety.
15th generation feudal lord of the Tosa domain. He oppressed the Tosa loyalist party and pushed for support of the shogun. Hijikata gripped his fist tightly. And then he punched against the wooden floor. Oh, Toshi. Every time.
Fuck!
There was prolonged silence after Hijikata's outburst, and Sakamoto faced Kondo.
So, you're the head of the Shinsengumi? Yes, I am chief of the Shinsengumi, Izumi Kondo. And you're Sakamoto, the Sakamoto Ronin.
Sakamoto's expression was something with which I wasn't familiar. He stared coldly at Kondo before raising his voice.
You stuck your nose where it didn't belong. Meaning?
Kondo seemed puzzled by Sakamoto's words, but the latter ignored his question.
Whatever. So if you're done doubting me, that means I can be on my way now, yeah?
Sakamoto began walking down the hallway.
Hold on a minute. Let me walk you out.
Kondo rushed to get up and then looked over at me. I nodded and I rushed to follow Sakamoto. Sakamoto! I called out to him while his back was facing me and he slowly turned to face me.
Oh, that's right, huh? You said you wanted to talk to me, right? What is it?
Huh? Oh,
Hey, Kondo. Would it be okay for me to get some alone time with her?
Hey, I'm not for sale. Kondo contemplated his request for a second with the captains watching behind him.
Fine. Thanks for coming out today.
After he nodded, Kondo returned to the common room alongside the rest of the captains. The first thing I said to Sakamoto was, "You're mad, aren't you?" Well, obviously. Let's just apologize. I'm really sorry, Sakamoto, for everything that just happened.
Don't worry about it. Water under the bridge.
Aw, he appreciated our apology. Good.
I'm used to things like this.
What kind of life does he live where this kind of thing is normal? Even still. I'm really sorry about today. I should have never agreed to write that letter. I bowed. Suddenly he pressed against me, then... Yes? Yes? Who? Where? What? Oh, hi. I'm just kinda leaning up against this pole.
No need to apologize. Hijikata's instincts weren't too far off. I am... an enemy of the Shinsengumi.
What? My heart jumped. Was he doing this because he was afraid some warrior was nearby and eavesdropping on our conversation? When he whispered in my ear, I felt a tense chill crawl down my neck. Even if he was kind. I thought you were allies with the shogunate, Sakamoto. I tried playing it cool as opposed to being freaked out by how close he was to me.
Well, during times like this, enemies and allies are so hard to distinguish. Things that come out of the mouths of men are seldom the truth. Once you reveal your true self, you risk everything by putting it out there.
When listening to Sakamoto speak, one could sense that he had overcome many obstacles in his life, ones the Shinsengumi probably couldn't fathom.
So, if you want to keep the relationship between you and the Shinsengumi healthy, you shouldn't be pitying me. I'm sure an honest woman, like yourself, would never trick someone like me.
After saying this, he inched backwards. However, I was overcome by this strange sensation that felt insatiable. A keen sense of yearning. Why am I feeling this way? Because he's gorgeous. Makes your heart go bump, bump, ba bump, bump.
Well, no matter what the Shinsengumi plots behind my back, I have friends on my side. There's no need for you to worry about me, so fear not.
I see. His words were very comforting. I suppose it's strange that I worry about his safety when it's the Shinsengumi with whom I live. Nonetheless, I don't want people whom I care about fighting with one another. Sakamoto perked up as if he had more to say.
Oh, yeah. I'll be leaving for Nagasaki soon. The Count Katsu requires of me.
To Nagasaki?
Yes, meaning I may not see you again for a while. Pretty sad, but if I get another chance to visit Kyoto, I'll come back to you.
Really? I'll look forward to that.
Aw, the sweetness of your joy makes it all the harder to leave you for Nagasaki.
What? No, you have to go. It's an important job, right?
Well, of course, but if you ask me to pick between you and my duties, I'm starting to lean towards picking you.
He possessed so much charm, and I never expected it, so I was lost for words. He's just playing with me, right? I mean, Sakamoto was probably just joking around. Right? Afterwards, I saw Sakamoto off along with the rest of the warriors.
Well, until next time. Make sure that the next time you invite me over fair and square. No more tricks.
Hijikata still seemed to be seething in response to Sakamoto's little jabs. Wow. Oh, look who it is.
Sakamoto!
Shintaro Nakaoka, whom I'd met with Sakamoto, ran up to him.
Oh hey, Nakaoka. What's up?
Don't you WhatsApp me. Otose from the Terada Inn told me you'd gone over to the Shinsengumi's base, so I came running over.
Landlady at the Fushimi Terada Inn, of which Sakamoto is a regular visitor.
What the hell were you thinking? You could have died there. Someone of your stature can't just be careless.
Well, I survived, didn't I? Everything turned out fine in the end.
Hijikata watched their interaction, showing an obvious weariness as he approached them. You guys aren't brothers by any chance, are you?
Hey, are you an acquaintance of Sakamoto's?
Nakaoka ignored his question, opting to simply glare at Hijikata intensely instead. Hijikata didn't seem fazed.
Today you had luck on your side. But the next time I see you, I will kill you without giving it a second thought.
What did you say?
Their shared enmity created an immutable tension amongst everyone watching. Then Nakaoka glanced to me.
You were from the Shinsengumi, huh? Aren't you just a piece of work? So were you just approaching Sakamoto to monitor everything we do?
Well... I couldn't think of an answer, but Sakamoto came to my stead.
Drop it, Nakaoka. Let's go home.
But...
I'm not some chump that can be tricked by a little girl. You know that.
He then took Nakaoka by the arm, and the pair swiftly walked off. I locked eyes with Sakamoto on his way out. His eyes were the same as when I met him. Full of glee, cunning, and they shined like he was a young child, ambitious and carefree. I felt relief at this. Once they were out of sight, Hijikata irately began to spout his frustrations.
Damn him. Everything he does gets on my nerves. Rub some salt in the wound, why don't you?
After finishing his tirade, Hijikata stormed back into the compound. I slowly recalled what Sakamoto said to me in my head. He claimed to be an enemy of the Shinsengumi. Every time we meet, it feels like he shows another side of himself, but I don't know what to believe. But what's going to happen? Would he really become an enemy of the Shinsengumi? I hoped to myself that we never stood before Sakamoto as his enemy. I could only hope, after all, as I slowly made my way back to the compounds. How very interesting. Oh, I'm still... Alright, we're not back to normal things. I was just going to say, why is he so intrigued by her, though? It's possible he knew she was part of the Shinsengumi and is using her as a way to get a foot in that way. But for what purpose? I don't know. Otherwise, he is actually genuinely interested in her, in which case, why? Surely he's got his pick. On this day, I was accompanying men on their rounds to search for my father. It had been a while. Between the Shinsengumi being tasked with guarding Nijo Castle and Sakamoto's arrival, so many hectic things were happening. However, we finally had a reprieve from it all, giving us the opportunity to search for any clues leading me to my father and me into the world. Even though I should have been focused on looking for clues, my head was stuck on Sakamoto's words.
No need to apologize. Hijikata's instincts weren't too far off. I am an enemy of the Shinsengumi.
It was scary to think about how many people stand in opposition to the Shinsengumi. Although the men often keep stories of their daily hardships to themselves, it's clear that the constant toil of battle is wearing them down. Even during the Battle of the Ikeda Inn and the Hamaguri Rebellion, many men were injured, and they were faced with 3 deadly foes. Since fate brought us together, and now that I stay with the Shinsengumi men, I owe it to them to stay as much out of their way as I can. My mind wandered, yet again, and I noticed that the troop was several steps ahead, and I needed to catch up in line with them. I tried running after them. I couldn't help thinking I was being watched, though, and so I instinctively turned around.
So, you've noticed me. I guess you're not as dumb as I thought, then.
I wondered if it was gonna be you! Couldn't quite wait one more route, could ya? Alright, well I did avoid you at the castle. Seemingly out of nowhere, a man stood behind me and stared down at me intently. His cool gaze froze me, and while cowering, I stitched together my memories, trying to recall where I'd heard his name or seen his profile. His name is Chikage Kazuma. I guess we recognize him by the descriptions of the Shinsengumi men, because we haven't actually met you yet. He is said to be affiliated with both the Satsuma and the Choshu, and he was the Shinsengumi's enemy at Ikeda and the Hamaguri Rebellion. Oh, and you two are here as well. Well, the whole gang's here, isn't that nice? He was accompanied by 2 other figures. It was Kyuju Amagiri and Kyu Shiranui, his usual band of cronies who stood proudly behind him. What are they doing here? I have to call the men of the Shinsengumi. However, Kazuma's intense glare made it difficult to speak, let alone scream for help. I felt as though I might crumble to my feet. Among the 3 stood the tallest man, Amagiri, who began speaking to me.
We've come here with a certain purpose. We were looking for you, Chizuru Yukimura.
Huh? My heart dropped like a massive stone. Why do these men know my name? I don't understand what you guys are talking about. Are you playing some kind of joke on me?
Without saying too much, your family's name is a demon's, and you carry the demon of the East Kodachi. That is evidence enough.
My family name? What was wrong with Yukimura? I like that we're having an abridged version of our conversation at the castle. I didn't understand what he meant, and I felt beads of sweat dripping down my spine. Darkness itself was coming for me. That's just your demon blood activating.
Then again, it isn't as though we need your permission to kidnap you. Female demons are rare. Now, come with me.
His hand stretched out, pale and grasping like the tentacle of some hideous subterranean monster. No, I won't go with you. The pit of my stomach sank, and all I could muster was a pathetic attempt at rejecting him. Kazuma appeared to hesitate for a moment, but the moment soon passed, and he aggressively reached for me once more. Interesting that you showed some hesitation. No! Don't! I won't go anywhere! In that instant, Kazuma's hand was blocked by Shiranui's hand. Okay.
Hold on there, buddy. The princess says she wants to stay.
Kazuma, you stop it there.
Just like Shiranui, Amagiri had also reached his hand out to grab Kazuma by the arm. Interesting. Is a female demon's word law? So she's like, I don't want it. You gotta, let her go. The interruption of their parries greatly annoyed Kazuma and intrigued me, whose seething contempt was palpable.
Oh,
He withdrew his hand to his side.
I will return for you. Soon.
What? Then he and the rest of his followers vanished back into the crawling masses. What? I've got, 20 more questions now. Like ghosts, they disappeared in an instant. Almost as if they melted into nothingness. Come for me? But why would they come for me? Why are those people after me? I frantically searched for them amongst the crowds, but they were nowhere to be seen. It was almost as if I imagined them next to me, but now they were gone, at least physically, as I felt haunted by their brief appearance. Was this a dream? An illusion? It couldn't be. My hand still trembled. Before I knew it, dusk settled in the amber sky. I peeked into the streets and its crevices, engulfed in fear amidst the creeping darkness.
Is something the matter?
Harada's voice snagged my cautious ear, and I was snapped back to reality. Oh, nothing.
Are you sure? If you say so.
Harada returned to look for me and was concerned that I became separated from the troop. Thanks, man. Sorry. I found a man that looked like my father. Huh. I instinctively gave him a white lie. How very interesting. Maybe it was because I didn't want him to worry about me any more than he already did, since the men should focus on any troubles they find. Harada chuckled unsettlingly, and he reminded me not to stray too far from the lines. I bowed out of apology and ran after him. Watching the night descend into the patches of darkness atop buildings left me thinking. Was the encounter I had with those three men something that actually occurred? One thing, however, was for certain. They were after me. Fearful thoughts kept trickling in my head, and I ran after Harada, scared of what's to come. How very, very, very interesting.